Talent alone is not enough. Those were the words that echoed through the corridors of the King Abdullah Sports City Stadium in Jeddah, long after the final whistle had blown. They did not come from a pundit, nor from an angry fan. They came from the man who had just dismantled Real Madrid's defense piece by piece. Robert Lewandowski did not just celebrate a 3-2 victory in the Spanish Super Cup. He delivered a brutal reality check that has sent shockwaves through the Santiago Bernabeu. While the world watched Xabi Alonso pace nervously on the sidelines, witnessing his tactical system crumble under the lights, the real story was happening on the pitch, in the shadows of a substitution that changed everything. We saw a Real Madrid side that looked lost. But why? Was it Xabi Alonso's tactical gamble that backfired? Or was it something deeper, something wrought in the very attitude of the Galacticos? When the board went up showing Gonzalo Garcia's number, the one player who was actually fighting for the badge, to be replaced by a Kylian Mbappé who looked like a shadow of his former self, the game didn't just change direction, it died. And Lewandowski saw it. He saw the hesitation, he saw the lack of intensity, and in his post-match comments, he didn't protect feelings. He exposed the truth about what happens when names on a team sheet replace hunger on the field. Today, we are not just analyzing a defeat. We are dissecting the moment Real Madrid's philosophy clashed with reality, and why Lewandowski's warning might be the epitaph for Xabi Alonso's tenure if things don't change immediately. Before we dive into the chaos of Jeddah, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, because the truth we are about to uncover is not something the Madrid media wants you to hear. To understand the gravity of Lewandowski's words, we have to go back to the atmosphere in Saudi Arabia. This was not just another El Clasico. This was a referendum on Xabi Alonso's project. Coming into this final, the pressure was already mounting. The murmurs about his future were growing louder, and a win against the eternal rival Barcelona was the only improved currency acceptable in the Spanish capital. The stage was set for redemption. Instead, what we witnessed was a capitulation. The scoreboard read 3-2 to Barcelona. But anyone who watched the full 90 minutes knows that the gap was far wider than a single. For the first hour, there was hope. There was a structure. Young Gonzalo Garcia was electric, providing the width and the work rate that kept Barcelona's defense honest. Real Madrid had a foothold in the game. But football is a cruel game of moments, and the defining moment of this final wasn't a goal. It was a decision made in the dugout by Xabi Alonso that will likely haunt him for the rest of the season. When he decided to pull off Garcia, the most effective player in white, to bring on Kylian Mbappé, he wasn't just making a substitution. He was signaling a surrender to star power over tactical necessity. Mbappé, clearly struggling with fitness issues, looked heavy. He looked disconnected, and Barcelona, sensing blood, went for the. This is exactly the environment where Robert Lewandowski thrives. He didn't just score, he orchestrated the pressure that broke Madrid's spirit. But it was his words after the match that cut deeper than any blade. When asked about the difference between the two sides, the Polish striker didn't talk about tactics or luck. He pointed directly at the work ethic, a subtle but devastating jab at the superstar culture that seemingly paralyzed Madrid in the final 30 minutes. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the moment that turned a competitive final into a tactical disaster class. Minute 65. The substitution board goes up. Gonzalo Garcia off, Kylian Mbappé on. On paper, to the casual fan, this looks like a power move. You are bringing on one of the best players in the world to win a final. But football is not played on paper, and Xabi Alonso, of all people, should know that it is played on grass, with sweat and lungs. Garcia had been the engine. He was pressing, he was tracking back, he was causing chaos. He was doing the dirty work that allows a team to function against a possession-heavy side like Barcelona. By removing him, Alonso removed the team's lungs. And who did he bring on? A Kylian Mbappé, who has been battling fitness concerns, a player who needs the team to run for him. The dynamic shifted instantly. Suddenly, Real Madrid was playing with 10 men when they didn't have the ball. The press disappeared. The intensity dropped. Barcelona's midfield, which had been hurried and harassed by Garcia, suddenly found acres of space. Lewandowski, Pedri, and Gavi began to dictate the tempo with frightening ease. It was a collapse of structure. And this brings us back to Lewandowski's brutal assessment. Talent alone is not enough. When he said those words, he wasn't speaking in riddles. He was looking directly at the contrast between a Barcelona team that ran until they cramped and a Real Madrid front line that stood with hands on hips, waiting for the ball to arrive at their feet. It is rare for a player of Lewandowski's stature to be so candid about an opponent, but his frustration seemed to stem from a respect for the game itself. He knows what it takes to win at this level. He knows that you cannot carry passengers in a final, no matter how famous they are. By forcing Mbappé into the game, Alonso didn't just hurt the team's tactical shape. He sent a terrible message to the locker room. He told his players that reputation matters more than performance. He told Gonzalo Garcia that no matter how well you play, you will always be sacrificed for the marketing icon. That destroys morale. That destroys trust. And as we saw in those final, agonizing 20 minutes, it destroys results. The 3-2 scoreline flatters Madrid. Without those set-piece moments that offered a glimmer of hope, this could have been a humiliation. The disconnect was palpable. You could see Jude Bellingham throwing his arms up in frustration as the pressing triggers failed. You could see the defense retreating deeper and deeper because there was no outlet, no energy up top to hold the ball. Mbappé, for all his brilliance, was a liability in this specific context. And Xabi Alonso, the man praised for his tactical intelligence at Leverkusen, looked frozen. He had played his ace card, and it turned out to be a joker. This error is not just a tactical slip, it is a fireable offense in the eyes of the Madrid press. Marca and AS are already sharpening their knives. They are asking the question that Alonso fears most. Does he have the courage to bench the stars when they don't perform? Or is he a puppet to the hierarchy? The aftermath of this defeat is going to be ugly. We are already hearing reports from the dressing room of silence. Not the focused silence of a team plotting a comeback, but the heavy, awkward silence of a team that knows they have lost their way. Xabi Alonso's future is now hanging by the thinnest of threads. Florentino Perez is not a man known for his patience, especially when the humiliation comes at the hands of Barcelona. To lose is one thing. To lose because you compromised your tactical integrity to shoehorn a superstar into the lineup is unforgivable. The comparison to the Barcelona project is painful for Madridistas. Hansi Flick has built a machine where every part is replaceable, where the system is the star. Lewandowski, at his age, is pressing like a teenager. Yamal is tracking back. There are no passengers. And then you look at Madrid, a collection of individuals hoping for a moment of magic. The "talent alone is not enough" quote is going to hang over Valdebebas like a dark cloud all week. It challenges the very identity of this Galactico era. Or are they just a marketing experiment? This defeat has exposed the cracks that many have been ignoring. The reliance on individual brilliance over collective structure works against Getafe or Alaves. It does not work against a high-octane Barcelona in a cup final. Alonso's inability to adapt, his stubbornness in sticking to a hierarchy that clearly wasn't working on the night, suggests a manager who is feeling the heat. If he cannot make the hard decisions, if he cannot look Mbappé in the eye and sit him down for the good of the team, then he is already a dead man walking. The specter of Zidane, or even Klopp, looms large. The Bernabeu crowd will not tolerate another display like this. They demand hunger. They demand sweat. They demand what Gonzalo Garcia gave them and what was taken away from them by their own manager. As the dust settles in Jeddah, one thing is clear. The balance of power has shifted, not just on the scoreboard, but in the psychological warfare between these two giants. Robert Lewandowski didn't just win a trophy, he delivered a lesson that talent is merely the entry ticket, but character is what wins finals. Xabi Alonso now faces the most difficult week of his career. He has to look at his squad and decide if he is running a football team or a talent agency. The question I want to leave you with today is this. Do you think Xabi Alonso was pressured by the board to play Mbappé, or was this genuinely a tactical failure on his part? And more importantly, does he deserve time to fix this, or is the shadow of Zidane already too large to ignore? Let me know your honest thoughts in the comments below. This discussion is far from over. If you enjoyed this raw analysis, destroy that like button and subscribe for more unfiltered football content. Until next time, remember, the game is played on grass, not on paper.